You are controlled, not by others, by yourself, by impulses you did not choose, by habits you did not design, by reactions you cannot stop. This lack of self-control is destroying everything you touch. Your goals, your relationships, your potential. But there is an ancient art, practiced by stoics, warriors, and masters across millennia. The art of complete self-control. The discipline that makes you master of every impulse, every desire, every reaction. This audiobook will teach you that ancient art. Stop being controlled by yourself. Start mastering yourself. Your transformation begins with control. Chapter 1. You are a slave to your impulses until you are not. You are a slave, not to another person, to yourself, to impulses you obey without question. The urge to check your phone. You obey. The craving for immediate gratification. You obey. The need to respond to every emotion. You obey. These impulses are not innocent desires. These impulses are masters giving commands. And you are the slave executing those commands. That is the key. Most people are slaves to their impulses and do not even recognize the slavery. They think they are free while being completely controlled. Consider what happens when your phone buzzes. An impulse arrives. Check the phone now. What do? You check the phone. Immediately. Without question. Without deciding whether checking serves you. The impulse commanded. You obeyed. This is slavery. You had a choice. Ignore the impulse and maintain control of your attention. Or obey the impulse and surrender control to the notification. You chose slavery. You choose slavery dozens of times per day. Every obedience to unexamined impulse is practice at being controlled. You have a choice. Continue obeying every impulse and remain enslaved. Or start questioning impulses before obeying them and begin the path to freedom. The difference between slave and master is not the presence of impulses. Everyone has impulses. The difference is who decides whether the impulse is obeyed. The slave obeys automatically. The master decides deliberately. Same impulse, different response, different life. That is the key. Every impulse you obey without conscious decision is a chain binding you to weakness. The chain feels invisible because you never pull against it. You obey so automatically that you never notice the constraint. But the chain is real. The chain limits your freedom. The chain determines your behavior. The chain controls your life. And you forge this chain yourself through years of automatic obedience to impulses. Consider how impulse slavery damages every domain of your life. Your career suffers. You cannot control the impulse to procrastinate. Difficult work triggers the impulse to avoid. You obey. You choose easy tasks over important tasks. You obey the impulse for immediate comfort over long-term achievement. Years pass. Your career reflects this pattern. Mediocre results from someone controlled by impulses toward ease. You have a choice. Keep obeying the procrastination impulse or start controlling it. The first guarantees continued mediocrity. The second makes excellence possible. Your relationships suffer. You cannot control the impulse to react emotionally. Your partner says something that triggers you. The impulse to respond with anger arrives. You obey. You speak without thinking. You prioritize expressing your feelings over considering consequences. The relationship deteriorates. Not because your partner is wrong, because you're controlled by emotional impulses. You have a choice. Keep obeying emotional impulses or start controlling emotional responses. The first destroys relationships. The second builds them. Your health suffers. You cannot control the impulse to eat poorly. You feel stressed. The impulse for comfort food arrives. You obey. You cannot control the impulse to skip exercise. You feel tired. The impulse to rest instead of train arrives. You obey. You cannot control the impulse to choose comfort over discipline. Every impulse toward ease gets automatic obedience. Your body reflects years of impulse slavery. Poor health, low energy, physical weakness. You have a choice. Keep obeying comfort impulses or start controlling them. The first guarantees poor health. The second makes fitness possible. That is the key. Impulse slavery damages everything: career, relationships, health, finances, personal growth. Every domain suffers when you're controlled by impulses. Every domain improves when you master impulses. The person controlled by impulses lives reactive, chaotic life, determined by whatever impulse is strongest in the moment. The person who masters impulses lives deliberate, disciplined life, determined by conscious choices aligned with long-term goals. You're thinking this does not apply to you. You believe you have self-control. You believe you make your own choices. This belief is the most dangerous form of slavery. The slave who knows they are enslaved can work toward freedom. The slave who believes they are free never even tries to escape. You have a choice. Continue believing you are free while impulses control you. Or examine honestly whether impulses are commanding your behavior. Do this examination now. Identify one impulse you obey automatically. For most people, this is phone checking. Notice how many times today you checked your phone without conscious decision. The impulse arrived. You obeyed. No decision. No consideration of whether checking served your goals. Just automatic obedience. This is slavery. One impulse among dozens you obey without question throughout your day. The urge to hit snooze when the alarm sounds. You obey. The craving for sugar when you feel stressed. You obey. The impulse to watch another episode instead of going to sleep. You obey. The need to speak when someone says something wrong. You obey. The desire to buy something you do not need. You obey. Count how many automatic obediences happen in one day. The number reveals the depth of your slavery. You have a choice right now. Continue this automatic obedience and remain controlled. Or start the process of regaining control. That is the key. Freedom from impulse slavery begins with recognition. Not change. Recognition. You cannot change what you do not see. You cannot master what you do not acknowledge. The first step is brutal honesty. I am controlled by impulses. Specific impulses. Name them. Write them down. The impulses that control you. Phone checking. Snooze hitting. Emotional reacting. Comfort eating. Work avoiding. Whatever impulses command your automatic obedience. List them. See them clearly. This seeing is uncomfortable. This seeing threatens your self-image as someone in control. Let that discomfort exist. Let that threatened self-image crack. Because underneath the comfortable illusion is uncomfortable truth. You are controlled by impulses. Many impulses. Recognition does not require immediate mastery. Recognition requires only honest acknowledgement. I obey this impulse automatically. I am controlled by this urge. This craving commands me. This desire determines my behavior. Say it. Write it. Own it. The ownership creates the possibility of change. You cannot change the pattern you deny exists. You can change the pattern you acknowledge clearly. That is the key. The path from slave to master begins with seeing the chains. Every impulse you obey automatically is a chain. See the chains. Count the chains. Name the chains. This inventory of your slavery is the first step toward freedom. Not the final step. The first step. You are still slave. But you are a slave who sees the slavery. This seeing changes everything. Most people never reach even this first step. They live entire lives as slaves to impulses without ever recognizing the slavery. They believe every impulse obedience is free choice. They never examine whether the choice was actually theirs or whether the impulse chose for them. They die having been controlled their entire lives by forces they never acknowledged. You have a choice. Join them in unconscious slavery. Or wake up to conscious recognition of how controlled you actually are. The recognition is painful. Your ego resists. You want to believe you are master. You want to think you have self-control. But wanting does not make it true. The evidence reveals the truth. How many times did you obey impulses today without conscious choice? The number does not lie. Each automatic obedience is proof of slavery. Each unexamined impulse obeyed is evidence of control you do not have. You understand now that you are slave to your impulses. This understanding is beginning, not completion. You have seen the chains. You have named the impulses that control you. You have acknowledged the slavery you previously denied. This is progress. This is the necessary first step. But this is only the first step. Seeing slavery is not the same as achieving freedom. Recognition is not the same as mastery. You're a slave to your impulses. Until you are not. The until requires work, requires practice, requires understanding what self-control actually is. Because self-control is not what most people think. Self-control is not suppression. Self-control is not denial. Self-control is something completely different, something more powerful, something actually sustainable. Chapter 2. Self-control is not suppression. It is strategic command. Self-control is misunderstood. Completely. Fundamentally. Dangerously. Most people think self-control means suppressing desires, ignoring feelings, becoming robotic and emotionless, denying your humanity. This misunderstanding makes self-control unappealing, makes self-control unsustainable, makes people avoid developing self-control because they believe it requires becoming something less than human. That is the key. This misunderstanding is destroying your potential. Because self-control is not suppression. Self-control is strategic command. The difference is everything. Consider what suppression actually is. Suppression is pretending the impulse does not exist. You feel anger. Suppression says, I do not feel anger. You feel desire. Suppression says, I do not feel desire. You feel fear. Suppression says, I do not feel fear. This is lying to yourself. This is denial. This is pushing the feeling down and pretending it is gone. The feeling is not gone. The feeling is buried. And buried feelings create pressure. The pressure builds. Eventually, the pressure explodes. Suppression always fails. Always. You have a choice. Continue thinking self-control means suppression and avoid developing it. Or understand that self-control means strategic command and start building it. That is the key. Strategic command is completely different from suppression. Strategic command acknowledges what exists, then decides what to do about what exists. You feel anger. Strategic command says, I feel anger. I acknowledge this anger. Now I decide how to respond to this anger. The feeling exists. The response is chosen. This is power. This is control. Ancient wisdom understood this completely. Marcus Aurelius felt anger. He was human. He had emotions. But he did not let anger command him. He commanded his response to anger. Seneca felt fear. Facing death. Facing exile. Facing loss. But he did not let fear dictate action. He decided whether fear would control behavior. Epictetus experienced desire. For comfort. For recognition. For ease. But he determined whether desire would override his principles. They did not suppress their humanity. They commanded it. This is what self-control actually is. You feel the impulse. You acknowledge the desire. You experience the emotion. But you decide whether and how to act on it. The feeling does not decide. You decide. That is the key. The feeling is information. The feeling is data about your internal state. But information is not command. Data is not dictation. You receive the information. You consider the data. Then you choose the response. This is strategic command. This is self-control. You have a choice. Let feelings command action or command your response to feelings. Most people choose the first without realizing they chose. They feel angry. They act angry. They feel desire. They pursue satisfaction. They feel fear. They avoid the feared thing. Feeling directly determines action. No gap. No choice. No command. Just automatic obedience to whatever feeling is strongest. This is being controlled by feelings. This is what you have been doing your entire life. Strategic command introduces the gap. Feeling arises. Acknowledge it. Pause. Consider it. Decide about it. Then act based on decision, not based on feeling. You feel angry at criticism. Acknowledge the anger. Pause. Consider whether expressing anger serves your goal. Decide that calm response serves better. Respond calmly despite feeling angry. The anger existed. The anger was real. But the anger did not command. You commanded. This is self-control. The difference between control and denial is crucial. Control acknowledges what exists and decides what happens. Denial pretends what exists does not exist and loses to it eventually. You feel hungry. Control acknowledges hunger and decides when and what to eat based on your nutritional goals. Denial pretends you are not hungry and eventually binges uncontrollably when denial fails. Control wins by working with reality. Denial fails by fighting reality. You have a choice. Work with your feelings through control or fight your feelings through denial. That is the key. Your feelings are a part of you. Your impulses are part of being human. Your desires are natural. Trying to eliminate these is trying to eliminate your humanity. This fails. Always. But you do not need to eliminate feelings to have self-control. You need to command your response to feelings. The feeling can exist. The response is chosen. Both are true. You can feel angry and speak calmly. You can feel afraid and act courageously. You can feel desire and choose discipline. The feeling and the action are separate. Command the action. Let the feeling be. This makes self-control sustainable. Suppression creates internal pressure that eventually explodes. You suppress anger 20 times. The 21st time you explode. All that suppressed anger releases uncontrollably. Suppression fails because it fights human nature. Strategic command works with human nature. You feel anger. You acknowledge it. You express it strategically through calm words chosen deliberately. The anger is released, but released in controlled way. No explosion, no regret, just controlled expression. This works. This lasts. This is sustainable. You have a choice right now. Continue misunderstanding self-control as suppression and continue avoiding developing it. Or understand self-control as strategic command and start building it immediately. The first keeps you controlled by every feeling. The second gives you control over your responses to feelings. That is the key. You will always have feelings. You are human, but you can choose whether feelings command you or you command your responses to feelings. Consider what this means practically. You're in a meeting. Someone says something that triggers anger. Suppression says do not feel angry. Pretend you are calm. This fails. The anger shows on your face. The anger affects your tone. The suppression is obvious and ineffective. Strategic command says I feel angry. I acknowledge this anger. This comment triggered me. Now I choose my response. I will speak calmly and address the issue directly. The anger exists. The response is chosen. The anger does not control the response. You control the response. You are facing temptation. Food you committed not to eat. Suppression says I do not want this food. Pretend the craving does not exist. This fails. The craving intensifies. The denial makes it worse. Eventually you break and eat more than if you had never suppressed. Strategic command says I want this food. I acknowledge this craving. The food looks good. Now I choose my response. I will not eat this because I committed to my nutrition goal. The craving exists. The action is chosen. The craving does not control the action. You control the action. That is the key. Strategic command gives you power without requiring you to deny your humanity. You can be fully human, feeling everything, experiencing all emotions, acknowledging all desires, and still maintain complete control over your actions. The feelings do not determine actions. Your decisions determine actions. This is freedom, not freedom from feelings. Freedom in how you respond to feelings. You have a choice. Remain controlled by feelings through automatic obedience, or gain control over responses through strategic command. This requires practice. You do not suddenly develop strategic command. You build strategic command through repeated practice. Feel impulse. Acknowledge impulse. Pause. Choose response. Execute chosen response. 1 repetition. You need thousands of repetitions. Each practice strengthens the pattern. Each strengthening makes command easier. Eventually, strategic command becomes automatic. Not the response, the commanding. Feeling arises. Command process activates automatically. You acknowledge. You choose. You execute. This becomes your default. This becomes who you are. You understand now that self-control is not suppression. You understand that strategic command acknowledges feelings while choosing responses. You understand that this makes self-control sustainable and powerful. Stop trying to suppress your humanity. Start commanding your responses to your humanity. You are human. You will feel. You will desire. You will experience impulses. This is unchangeable. What is changeable is whether these feelings command you or you command your responses to these feelings. Choose command. Choose control. Choose freedom. You command your feelings now. Next, you must understand where that command actually operates. Chapter 3. The gap between stimulus and response contains your freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your freedom and your power. This is not philosophy. This is not inspiration. This is the fundamental truth about human consciousness discovered by Viktor Frankl in a Nazi concentration camp. Something happens. You have a gap before you respond. In that gap, you choose. That is the key. Most people have no gap. Stimulus triggers immediate automatic reaction. The gap is collapsed. Freedom is lost. Power is surrendered. You're controlled by whatever triggers you. Consider what happens when someone insults you. The insult is stimulus. Your reaction is response. For most people, there is no gap between these. Insult happens. Reaction is immediate. Anger. Defense. Counterattack. The reaction is automatic. Unconsidered. Uncontrolled. You did not choose to react this way. The stimulus triggered the reaction. Like pushing a button triggers a machine. Stimulus in. Reaction out. No choice. No freedom. No power. Just automatic mechanical response. This is how most people live their entire lives. Warriors operate differently. Insult happens. Before reacting, pause. In the pause, awareness. I have been insulted. I feel anger rising. I notice the impulse to attack back. These are observations, not reactions. Just noticing what is happening. Then choice. How do I want to respond? What response serves my goals? What action demonstrates strength rather than reactivity? The response is chosen, then executed. Same stimulus, completely different response. The difference is the gap. You have a choice. Collapse the gap and react automatically, or build the gap and respond deliberately. That is the key. The gap between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Without the gap, you're a machine. Stimulus determines response. You have no say in the matter. Environmental inputs produce automatic outputs. You are controlled by whatever happens to you. With the gap, you are human. Stimulus provides information. You consider the information. You choose the response. You maintain power. Environmental inputs do not determine outputs. Your choices determine outputs. This is freedom, not freedom from stimulus. Freedom in how you respond to stimulus. This gap does not exist naturally for most people. The gap is built deliberately through practice. You do not suddenly have a gap during crisis if you never practiced having a gap during ordinary moments. The gap is a capacity, like a muscle. The muscle grows through use. The gap grows through practice. You practice creating the gap in small moments. The gap becomes available in large moments. You never practice the gap. The gap is never available. You remain reactive, controlled, enslaved to automatic responses. You have a choice. Continue living with no gap and continue being controlled by every trigger. Or start building the gap through daily practice and gain freedom you have never experienced. The building process is simple, not easy. Simple. Something happens. Notice it. Notice your impulse to react. Pause. Breathe. Choose response. Execute chosen response. 1 repetition. This is practice. Do this 10 times today. 10 repetitions. Do this daily. 300 repetitions monthly. 3,600 repetitions yearly. After enough repetitions, the gap becomes automatic. Consider small moments where you can practice. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Notice the anger. Notice the impulse to rage. Pause. Breathe. Choose response. Maybe acceptance. Maybe nothing. Execute that choice. 1 repetition. Someone says something annoying. Notice the irritation. Notice the impulse to snap back. Pause. Breathe. Choose response. Maybe silence. Maybe calm disagreement. Execute that choice. Another repetition. That is the key. Every small trigger is opportunity to practice the gap. Every practice strengthens the capacity. Every strengthening makes the gap more available. You're thinking this sounds tedious. Practicing gaps in traffic. Practicing gaps with minor annoyances. You want to handle big moments. Handle crisis. Handle important situations. But you cannot handle big moments without practicing small moments. The executive who stays calm during company crisis practiced the gap 10,000 times in traffic, in meetings, in minor frustrations. Each small practice built capacity. The capacity was available during crisis. You have a choice. Skip the small practices because they seem insignificant and have no gap during crisis. Or embrace small practices and build gap that works when it matters most. The gap is not the same as slowness. The gap is not hesitation. The gap is awareness. You can have a gap and respond quickly. The difference is the response is chosen rather than automatic. Quick but deliberate. Fast but considered. Rapid but controlled. The gap can be half a second, just enough to notice the impulse and choose whether to follow it. You feel road rage rising. Half-second gap. Recognize it. Choose calm. Execute calm. The whole process takes 1 second, but that 1 second contains the difference between control and being controlled. That is the key. The gap does not need to be long. The gap needs to exist. Any space between stimulus and automatic reaction is improvement over no space. Start with whatever gap you can create. Half second, 1 second, 2 seconds. The duration matters less than the existence. You created space between what happened and how you responded. In that space, you had choice. That choice is freedom. You had no space yesterday. You have small space today. Tomorrow, the space grows. Each day of practice expands a gap. Each expansion increases freedom. Most people live with completely collapsed gap. No space between trigger and reaction. Life happens to them. They react to life. They are controlled by circumstances, by other people, by random events. Whatever happens determines how they feel and what they do. This is slavery. Complete slavery. Environmental determinism. No freedom. No power. No choice. Just mechanical response to mechanical input. You have been living this way. You did not know different way existed. Now you know. The gap is different way. The gap is freedom. You have a choice right now. Continue collapsing the gap through automatic reactions, or start building the gap through deliberate practice. The first is easier today. Requires no practice, no awareness, no effort. Just continue reacting automatically like you always have. The second is harder today. Requires practice, requires awareness, requires effort. But the second creates freedom you have never experienced. Freedom from being controlled by triggers. Freedom to choose your responses. Freedom to maintain power regardless of what happens. Consider what your life looks like with developed gap. Criticism arrives. Gap activates. You notice the criticism. You notice your defensive impulse. You choose response. Maybe thanking them for feedback. Maybe asking clarifying questions. Maybe nothing. The response is yours. The criticism did not determine it. Temptation appears. Gap activates. You notice the temptation. You notice your desire. You choose response. Maybe resistance. Maybe delayed gratification. Maybe strategic indulgence. The response is yours. The temptation did not determine it. That is the key. The gap returns power to you. Without gap, external events have your power. They determine your responses. They control your emotions. They dictate your actions. With gap, you have your power. You determine your responses. You control your emotions. You dictate your actions. Same external events. Completely different internal experience. The difference is the gap. The space where freedom lives. The pause where choice happens. The moment where you reclaim power that automatic reactions surrendered. This gap changes everything. Relationships improve because you respond wisely instead of react emotionally. Career advances because you handle pressure calmly instead of collapse reactively. Health improves because you choose discipline instead of obey impulse. Every domain benefits from the gap because the gap is where you exercise control. Without gap, you control nothing. With gap, you control everything that actually matters. Not the stimulus. Your response to the stimulus. You have a choice. Live without gap and be controlled. Or build the gap and gain control. Start today. Right now. Identify 3 triggers you face regularly. Traffic, annoying people, work pressure, whatever triggers you. Commit to practicing the gap with these 3 triggers. Trigger happens. Notice it. Notice your impulse. Pause. Breathe. Choose response. Execute choice. Practice this every single time these triggers appear. After 1 week, you will notice the difference. After 1 month, the gap will feel natural. After 1 year, the gap will be automatic. You will have freedom you never experienced. Freedom that lives in the space between what happens and how you respond. You understand now that the gap contains your freedom. You understand that the gap is built through practice. You understand that small moment practice creates large moment capacity. Stop reacting automatically. Start building the gap deliberately. Your freedom lives in that space. Your power lives in that pause. Your control lives in that choice. Build the gap. Every day, in every small moment. The gap will be there when you need it most. Because you built it when you did not need it yet. You have a gap now. Next, you must understand what this gap makes possible. Chapter 4. Delayed gratification separates masters from slaves. 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later. This simple choice predicted everything. Children who could delay eating 1 marshmallow to receive 2 marshmallows 15 minutes later had better life outcomes across every measure. Better health, better careers, better relationships, better finances, better everything. Decades later, the research is clear, undeniable, devastating for those who cannot delay. That is the key. The ability to delay gratification predicts life, success, more than intelligence, more than talent, more than circumstances. You either develop this ability or you suffer the consequences of not having it. The children who ate the marshmallow immediately got 1 marshmallow. The children who waited got 2. Double the reward for 15 minutes of delay. Simple mathematics. Obvious choice. Yet most children ate immediately. They could not delay. They could not resist. They could not wait for better outcome. This inability cost them not just 1 marshmallow. The inability to delay gratification cost them across their entire lives. You have a choice. Develop the ability to delay or pay the same cost those children paid. Lifelong cost. Permanent cost. The cost of being controlled by immediate impulses. Consider why this ability matters so much. Every worthwhile goal requires delayed gratification. Building a business requires years of work before profit. Getting fit requires months of discipline before visible results. Developing skills requires thousands of hours before mastery. Saving money requires decades of restraint before wealth. Nothing valuable comes immediately. Everything valuable requires delay between action and reward. You have a choice. Develop capacity to delay and access everything valuable, or remain incapable of delay and access only what is immediate. That is the key. Immediate gratification is a trap disguised as reward. Your brain is wired to prefer immediate rewards over delayed rewards. This wiring helped survival in ancient environments. Food now versus food maybe later. Shelter now versus shelter possibly tomorrow. Immediate was better when environment was unpredictable and dangerous. But this wiring destroys success in modern environments. Modern success requires delay. Education delay, career delay, financial delay, fitness delay. The ancient wiring fights modern requirements. The person who cannot override the wiring cannot achieve modern success. Every time you choose immediate gratification over delayed reward, you train your brain for weakness. You strengthen the pattern. You practice being controlled by immediate impulses. The modern world is designed to exploit this weakness. Fast food exploits the immediate eating impulse. Social media exploits the immediate entertainment impulse. Online shopping exploits the immediate acquisition impulse. Every exploitation strengthens your weakness. Every strengthening makes delayed gratification harder. You have a choice. Resist these exploitations and build strength. Surrender to these exploitations and build weakness. Most people surrender. They choose immediate gratification constantly. Check phone now. Eat junk now. Buy item now. Watch episode now. Skip workout now. Every now choice is training. Training for immediate gratification. Training against delayed gratification. After years of this training, delayed gratification becomes nearly impossible. They cannot wait for anything. Cannot delay for any reward. Cannot resist any immediate impulse. They are completely controlled by whatever feels good right now. This is slavery. Complete slavery to immediate impulses. You have been training the same way. Choosing immediate over delayed. Thousands of times. Tens of thousands of times. This training has created your current capacity, or lack of capacity. You cannot delay gratification for long because you practiced not delaying for years. You trained yourself to need immediate satisfaction. You strengthened immediate gratification circuits. You weakened delayed gratification circuits. The good news is training can reverse. You can train delayed gratification. You can build the capacity you destroyed. But reversal requires deliberate practice. You have a choice. Continue training for immediate gratification or start training for delayed gratification. That is the key. Delayed gratification is trainable. Like a muscle. Start with small delays. Delay checking phone for 10 minutes. Delay eating the snack for 30 minutes. Delay buying the item for 24 hours. Delay watching the show for 1 hour. These small delays are training. The training builds capacity. The capacity allows larger delays. You practice 10-minute delays for 1 week. You can now delay for 20 minutes. You practice 20-minute delays for 1 week. You can now delay for 40 minutes. Progressive training. Progressive capacity building. After enough training, you could delay gratification for days, weeks, months, years. You can work on business for 3 years before profit. You can train for 6 months before visible fitness results. You can save for decades before retirement wealth. The delay does not bother you. You train for delay. You built the capacity. The person who never trained cannot delay for 6 months, cannot delay for 3 years, cannot delay for decades. They need immediate results, need immediate satisfaction, need immediate gratification. This need destroys every long-term goal. This need guarantees mediocrity. This need is slavery. You have a choice right now. Start training delayed gratification today, or continue being controlled by immediate impulses. The training is simple. Identify one impulse you usually satisfy immediately. Phone checking, snack eating, entertainment consuming. Whatever impulse you obey immediately. Today, delay that impulse. Not resist. Delay. You will satisfy it. Just not now. Later. 10 minutes later. 30 minutes later. 1 hour later. The delay is the training. The delay builds the capacity. Do this daily. Different impulses. Same delay practice. After 30 days, your capacity will improve measurably. Consider what becomes possible with strong delayed gratification capacity. The business opportunity that requires 3 years of building. You can commit to it. The fitness goal that requires 6 months of disciplined training. You can achieve it. The financial independence that requires 20 years of saving. You can reach it. The skill mastery that requires 10,000 hours of practice. You could develop it. Everything worthwhile becomes accessible. Because you can delay. You can wait. You can resist immediate gratification for delayed reward. This ability is freedom. This ability is power. This ability is the difference between master and slave. That is the key. Masters delay gratification. Slaves cannot. The master sees 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later and chooses later. Every time, in every domain, the slave cannot wait, cannot delay, must have now. This inability destroys the slave's potential. This ability creates the master's success. You have been a slave, unable to delay, controlled by immediate impulses. That changes today. Today you start building delayed gratification capacity. Today you start training to be master instead of slave. Start with awareness. Notice how often you choose immediate gratification. The phone check, the snack, the purchase, the entertainment. Count them today. The number will shock you. Dozens of immediate gratification choices daily. Each choice is training for weakness. Each choice strengthens slavery. Tomorrow, delay one of these. Just one. Pick the easiest. Delay it by 10 minutes. Notice the discomfort. Notice the urge for immediate satisfaction. Notice yourself surviving the delay. This is training. This is capacity building. This is freedom development. You have a choice. Let immediate gratification control your life and guarantee mediocre outcomes. Or develop delayed gratification capacity and make excellent outcomes possible. The first is easier today. No discomfort, no delay, no training required. Just continue satisfying every impulse immediately like you always have. The second is harder today. Creates discomfort, requires delay, demands training. But the second creates capacity that changes everything. Capacity to pursue any goal. Capacity to achieve any outcome. Capacity to become master instead of remaining slave. The research is clear. The children who delayed gratification achieved more, earned more, lived better, had better relationships, better health, better everything. Not because they were smarter, because they could delay. You could develop this ability. You can build this capacity. You can join the masters instead of remaining with the slaves. The choice is yours. The training is available. The capacity is buildable. Start today. Delay one impulse. Build from there. Your future success depends on this capacity more than any other single factor. You understand now that delayed gratification separates masters from slaves. You understand that this capacity is trainable. You understand that training starts with small delays that build to large delays. Stop choosing immediate gratification. Start practicing delayed gratification. The training is uncomfortable. The capacity is invaluable. Build it daily through progressive delays. Your success across every domain depends on this capacity. Build it or remain enslaved to immediate impulses. The choice is yours. The training starts now. You can delay now. Next, you must understand who serves whom. Chapter 5. Your body is a servant, not a master. Your body is giving you orders. Wake up later. Eat this now. Skip the workout. Stay comfortable. Rest more. Avoid discomfort. These orders arrive constantly, and you obey constantly. Without question, this obedience has created fundamental confusion about the relationship between your mind and your body. You think your body is you. You think the body's preferences are your preferences. You think serving the body's desires is taking care of yourself. This is backwards. Completely backwards. Dangerously backwards. That is the key. Your body is not your master. Your body is your servant. Until you establish this hierarchy correctly, you will be controlled by physical impulses that destroy your goals. Consider what happens when your body is master. The alarm sounds. Your body wants more sleep. You obey. You hit snooze. The body commanded. You served. Time to train. Your body wants comfort. You obey. You skip the workout. The body commanded. You served. Healthy food is prepared. Your body craves junk food. You obey. You eat the junk. The body commanded. You served. Every obedience to body's preferences reinforces the hierarchy. The body is master. You are servant. This hierarchy destroys discipline, destroys achievement, destroys self-control. You have a choice. Continue serving your body's preferences or establish your mind as master. Warriors throughout history understood this completely. The body is tool. The body is vehicle. The body is servant that carries out the mind's commands, not the other way around. Spartan warriors trained children through hunger and cold, not to torture them, to prove that mind dominates body, that discomfort is survivable, that the body's protests can be overridden, that mind is master and body is servant. This hierarchy was essential for warrior effectiveness. The warrior whose body commanded would flee when body felt fear, would quit when body felt pain, would fail when body wanted comfort. Useless in battle, useless in life. You have a choice. Let your body command you like civilians do, or command your body like warriors do. That is the key. The hierarchy must be established deliberately, through proof. You prove mind over body by commanding body to do what body does not want to do. The alarm sounds. Body wants sleep. Mind commands wake. You wake. Proof. Mind is master. Time to train. Body wants rest. Mind commands train. You train. Proof. Mind is master. Body craves junk. Mind commands healthy food. You eat healthy. Proof. Mind is master. Each proof strengthens the hierarchy. Each strengthening makes future commands easier. Most people never establish this hierarchy. They spend entire lives serving their body's preferences. The body is uncomfortable. They immediately eliminate discomfort. The body is tired. They immediately rest. The body is hungry. They immediately eat. The body wants pleasure. They immediately pursue satisfaction. Every immediate obedience teaches the body that its preferences determine action. The body learns it is master, demands more, gets more demanding, becomes tyrant that controls completely. You have been serving this tyrant. Your body has been commanding. You have been obeying. This ends today. Establishing mind as master requires reversing years of body as master training. This reversal is not gentle. This reversal is not comfortable. This reversal requires deliberate discomfort that proves mind can override body. You must command your body to do things your body does not want to do, regularly, daily, until the hierarchy is unquestionable, until the body understands completely that mind commands and body obeys. You have a choice. Continue the comfortable slavery to your body's preferences, or engage the uncomfortable process of establishing proper hierarchy. That is the key. The establishment happens through daily practices that prove mind over body. Wake when alarm sounds despite body wanting more sleep. This proves mind commands body. Train when body protests with fatigue. This proves mind commands body. Eat according to plan when body craves different food. This proves mind commands body. Sit still when body wants to fidget. This proves mind commands body. Stand in cold shower when body screams for hot water. This proves mind commands body. Each proof is deposit in the hierarchy account. Each deposit strengthens mind's authority. Each strengthening makes body more obedient. Consider the cold shower specifically. Your body hates cold water. Every nerve ending protests. Every survival instinct screams no. The discomfort is intense. The urge to escape is overwhelming. You stand in the cold anyway. You command your body to stay. The body protests. You ignore the protests. You override the survival instinct. You prove that your mind is stronger than your body's preferences. 3 minutes of cold water. 3 minutes of proof. This proof transfers to everything else. The mind that can force body into cold water can force body to continue the workout, can force body to skip the junk food, can force body to wake on time, can force body to do anything the mind decides is important. You have a choice. Avoid practices that prove mind over body and remain controlled by body's preferences, or engage practices that prove mind over body and establish yourself as master. The first is more comfortable. No cold showers, no uncomfortable training, no resisted cravings, just comfortable obedience to whatever body wants. The second is less comfortable. Cold showers, hard training, resisted cravings, deliberate discomfort. But the second creates proper hierarchy. The hierarchy where you command and body obeys. This hierarchy is freedom. This hierarchy is power. This hierarchy is essential for self-control. Ancient practices across cultures included body mastery training. Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on hard surfaces, wearing minimal clothing in cold, fasting regularly, not because they enjoyed suffering, because they understood that comfort-seeking body becomes tyrant that controls. Discomfort-tolerating body becomes servant that obeys. Buddhist monks sit motionless for hours. Body screams to move. Mind commands stillness. Body obeys. This is training. This is proof. This is hierarchy establishment. Every warrior tradition includes similar practices, because every warrior tradition understands the fundamental truth. Body must serve mind, not command mind. That is the key. Your body will always have preferences. Your body will always want comfort. Your body will always resist difficulty. This is unchangeable. Body's nature. What is changeable is whether these preferences control your actions. When body is master, preferences control actions. When mind is master, decisions control actions despite preferences. Same body, same preferences, different hierarchy, different outcomes. You have been living with body as master, controlled by preferences, enslaved to comfort-seeking. That hierarchy has produced your current results. Change the hierarchy. Change the results. Start today with one daily practice that proves mind over body. Choose the practice you resist most. That resistance reveals where body currently has most control. Maybe cold shower, maybe early wake, maybe hard training, maybe controlled eating. Whatever you resist most is what you need most. Your body has most control there. Take control back. Command your body to do the thing your body most wants to avoid. Do this daily. Same practice, same proof, same hierarchy reinforcement. After 30 days, your relationship with your body will transform. The body will understand. Mind is master. Body is servant. You have a choice right now. Continue living as servant to your body's preferences, or become master who commands your body. The first requires no change, no discomfort, no effort. Just continue obeying your body like you always have. The second requires deliberate daily discomfort, required change, required effort. But the second creates freedom you have never experienced. Freedom from being controlled by physical impulses. Freedom to pursue goals regardless of body's protests. Freedom to achieve outcomes that comfort-seeking body would never allow. Consider what your life looks like when mind is master. Body wants to sleep in. Mind commands wake. You wake. Body wants to skip training. Mind commands train. You train. Body wants junk food. Mind commands healthy food. You eat healthy. Body wants to quit. Mind commands continue. You continue. Every domain improves. Because every domain requires doing things body does not want to do. Career requires working when body wants rest. Fitness requires training when body wants comfort. Relationships require difficult conversations when body wants avoidance. Everything worthwhile requires overriding body's preference for ease. You understand now that your body must be servant, not master. You understand that hierarchy is established through daily practices that prove mind over body. You understand that cold showers, early wakes, hard training, and controlled eating are not just activities. They are hierarchy reinforcement. They are proof that mind commands and body obeys. Stop serving your body's preferences. Start commanding your body to serve your goals. The hierarchy determines everything. Establish it correctly. Maintain it daily. Your body is servant. You are master. Prove it every day through deliberate discomfort that reinforces the hierarchy. This is non-negotiable for self-control. You command your body now. Next, you must understand what commands it daily. Chapter 6. Habits are either building you or destroying you, never neutral. Habits are not neutral. Every habit is working for you or against you, building you or destroying you, moving you toward your goals or away from them. There is no middle ground, no neutral habits, no harmless patterns. Every single thing you do repeatedly either compounds toward excellence or compounds toward failure. That is the key. The mathematics of habits is brutal and unforgiving. 1% better daily becomes 37 times better yearly. 1% worse daily becomes nearly zero yearly. Your habits determine which direction you compound, excellence or failure. You're compounding right now. The only question is which direction. Consider the mathematics clearly. You improve by 1% daily. Tiny improvement, almost unnoticeable. After one day, you're 1% better. After 30 days, you're 35% better. After 1 year, you're 37 times better. Not 37%, 37 times. The compound effect is massive. Now reverse it. You degrade by 1% daily. Tiny degradation, almost unnoticeable. After 1 day, you are 1% worse. After 30 days, you are 26% worse. After 1 year, you are nearly zero. Worthless. Destroyed. Same mathematics. Different direction. Your habits determine the direction. You have a choice. Build habits that compound you toward excellence, or maintain habits that compound you toward failure. Most people choose the second without realizing they chose. They think their habits are neutral. They think checking phone constantly is harmless. They think eating poorly occasionally is fine. They think skipping workout sometimes is acceptable. They do not see the compounding. They do not understand the mathematics. Each bad habit execution is 1% degradation. Each degradation compounds. After enough compounding, they are destroyed. They wonder what happened. The mathematics happened. The habits they thought were neutral destroyed them. That is the key. Bad habits are practiced self-sabotage. Every bad habit execution is you practicing failure. You habitually check phone first thing morning. You practice reactive living. You practice being controlled by notifications. You practice surrendering your attention. This practice compounds. After 1 year of this practice, you are expert at being reactive, expert at being controlled, expert at scattered attention. You practice this expertise daily. The habit trained you for failure. You habitually eat poorly. You practice poor nutrition. You practice being controlled by cravings. You practice choosing immediate gratification over health. This practice compounds. After 1 year, you are expert at poor eating, expert at being controlled by food, expert at destroying your health. You have been practicing failure through bad habits, repeated daily, compounded yearly. Your current results reflect your practiced habits. You are exactly what your habits trained you to become, not what you wish you were, not what you imagine you could be. what your habits actually created through thousands of repetitions. You have a choice. Continue your current habits and continue getting results those habits create. Or change your habits and change the results. The first requires no change. The second requires deliberate habit replacement. Most people choose the first, then wonder why nothing changes. Consider every bad habit you maintain. Phone checking, poor eating, inconsistent training, late sleeping, scattered focus, reactive behavior, impulsive spending. Each is practicing failure in specific domain. Each practice is compounding you toward worse outcomes in that domain. You cannot have bad habits and good outcomes. The mathematics does not allow it. Bad habits compound toward bad outcomes. Always, without exception, you have bad outcomes in some domains right now. Those outcomes are not bad luck. Those outcomes are compounded results of bad habits you practiced repeatedly. That is the key. You cannot blame circumstances for outcomes your habits created. Your fitness is poor because you habitually skip training and eat poorly. Your finances are weak because you habitually spend impulsively and save inconsistently. Your career is stagnant because you habitually avoid difficult work and choose easy tasks. Your relationships are damaged because you habitually react emotionally and avoid difficult conversations. Every poor outcome traces back to habits. Bad habits, practiced repeatedly, compounded relentlessly. The outcomes are not mysterious. The outcomes are mathematical results of habitual actions. You have a choice right now. Own your habits and own your outcomes. Or continue blaming external factors for results your habits created. The first is uncomfortable. Requires acknowledging that your habits destroyed your outcomes. Requires facing that you practiced failure daily. Requires accepting that you created your current situation through repeated bad choices. The second is comfortable. Lets you blame circumstances. Lets you avoid responsibility. Lets you pretend your habits are not the problem. But comfortable blame does not create change. Uncomfortable ownership creates change. Good habits are the opposite of bad habits. Good habits are automated success. The habit executes automatically. No willpower required. No decision needed. No internal debate. You simply execute because that is what you do. That is the key. The person with habit of morning training does not decide whether to train. They train automatically. The decision was made once when the habit was established. Now the habit executes. No daily decision. No daily willpower depletion. Just automatic execution. This automation is powerful. This automation compounds. Consider what happens when good habits automate success behaviors. You habitually wake at 5 a.m. 6 days per week, 52 weeks per year, 312 early mornings. Each morning you have 2 extra hours before most people wake. 2 hours for training, for learning, for building. 624 extra hours yearly. That is 26 full days. You have 26 more days than people who sleep until 7. This advantage compounds. After 10 years, you have 260 extra days. Almost 1 full extra year. From one habit, one automated behavior, compounded across time. You have a choice. Build good habits that automate success behaviors, or maintain bad habits that automate failure behaviors. The first requires initial effort to establish habits, requires discipline during habit formation, requires consistency until automation occurs. The second requires no effort, no discipline, no consistency, just continue current patterns. But the first compounds toward excellence. The second compounds toward failure. Same time passing, different directions, different destinations. You choose the direction through habits you build or habits you maintain. Start with one habit replacement. Identify worst habit, the habit most clearly compounding you toward failure. Maybe phone checking first thing morning. Replace it. New habit. Wake up. Physical movement immediately. Push-ups, stretching, running. Anything except phone. This replacement is 1% improvement. Do this daily. 30 days. The replacement becomes automatic. The bad habit is eliminated. The good habit compounds. You are now 1% better in this domain. After this habit is automated, replace next worst habit. Another 1% improvement. Another compound. After 1 year of replacing one habit monthly, you replace 12 habits. 12 1% improvements compounding simultaneously. That is the key. You do not need dramatic transformation. You need systematic habit replacement. One habit at a time. Bad habit out. Good habit in. Each replacement is small improvement. Each improvement compounds. After enough replacements, you are a completely different person. Not because of one big change. Because of accumulated small changes compounding over time. This is how excellence is built. Not through motivation. Not through willpower. Through habits. Good habits. Automated success behaviors. Compounding daily. Building you 1% at a time. You understand now that habits are either building you or destroying you. You understand that there are no neutral habits. You understand that bad habits compound toward failure and good habits compound toward excellence. Stop maintaining bad habits that destroy you. Start building good habits that build you. The compound effect is working either way. Working for you or against you. Choose which way. Choose deliberately. Through systematic habit replacement. One habit at a time. 1% improvement compounding. This is the path. This is how self-control becomes automated. Through habits that execute success behaviors automatically. Build the habits. Let the habits build you. You have good habits now. Next, you must understand their price. Chapter 7. Discomfort is the price of self-control. Pay it daily. Self-control requires discomfort. Every single time. Every single day. There is no comfortable path to self-control. No easy way to master yourself. No painless route to discipline. The workout is uncomfortable. Controlled eating is uncomfortable. Delayed gratification is uncomfortable. Impulse resistance is uncomfortable. Waking early is uncomfortable. Everything self-control requires creates discomfort. That is the key. You cannot have self-control without accepting daily discomfort. The person who avoids all discomfort has zero self-control. The person who accepts daily discomfort builds extraordinary self-control. You have a choice. Avoid discomfort and remain controlled by impulses. Or accept discomfort and master yourself. Consider why self-control requires discomfort. Self-control means choosing what serves you over what feels good. This choice creates discomfort. Always. Your body wants to sleep. Self-control chooses waking. Discomfort. Your body wants junk food. Self-control chooses healthy food. Discomfort. Your impulse wants immediate gratification. Self-control chooses delayed reward. Discomfort. Your emotion wants reactive expression. Self-control chooses controlled response. Discomfort. Every act of self-control is choosing the uncomfortable option over the comfortable option. Without discomfort, there is no self-control, just comfortable obedience to impulses. You have been avoiding discomfort your entire life. Every choice toward comfort, every avoidance of difficulty, every selection of easy over hard. This avoidance has destroyed your self-control. Because self-control is built through discomfort, practiced through discomfort, strengthened through discomfort. You avoided the discomfort. You avoided building self-control. Now you have no self-control. Now you're controlled by every impulse. The connection is direct. Discomfort avoided equals self-control destroyed. You have a choice. Continue avoiding discomfort and continue having no self-control. Or start accepting discomfort and start building self-control. That is the key. You have a discomfort budget. You will pay discomfort. The payment is not optional. The payment is guaranteed. You choose what discomfort you pay. Pay productive discomfort now that builds you. Or pay destructive discomfort later that results from lack of self-control. The discomfort of disciplined eating or the discomfort of poor health, the discomfort of difficult work or the discomfort of poverty, the discomfort of emotional regulation or the discomfort of destroyed relationships, the discomfort of early waking or the discomfort of wasted life. You pay discomfort either way. You choose which discomfort. Choose wisely. Most people choose poorly. They avoid productive discomfort. Avoid the workout discomfort. Avoid the controlled eating discomfort. Avoid the early wake discomfort. Avoid the emotional regulation discomfort. Every avoidance feels like winning. Feels like escaping pain. Feels like smart choice. This is delusion. They are not escaping discomfort. They are trading productive discomfort for destructive discomfort. They avoid workout discomfort today. They pay poor health discomfort for decades. They avoid controlled eating discomfort now. They pay obesity discomfort forever. They avoid emotional regulation discomfort in the moment. They pay destroyed relationship discomfort permanently. The trade is terrible, but they make it daily. You have made this trade repeatedly, thousands of times. Every time you chose comfort over discipline. Every time you avoided productive discomfort. Every time you selected easy over hard. Each trade seemed beneficial in the moment. Avoided immediate discomfort. But the trade created future discomfort. Larger discomfort. Longer discomfort. Worse discomfort. You are paying that discomfort now. The accumulated debt from years of avoiding productive discomfort. The debt is heavy. The payment is painful. You have a choice. Continue this pattern and continue accumulating destructive discomfort debt, or reverse the pattern and start paying productive discomfort that eliminates future debt. That is the key. Productive discomfort is investment. Pay now, gain later. The workout is uncomfortable for 1 hour. Creates fitness for lifetime. The controlled eating is uncomfortable daily. Creates health for decades. The early wake is uncomfortable for 30 minutes. Creates productive hours for years. The emotional regulation is uncomfortable in moments. Creates strong relationships forever. These discomforts are investments. Short-term payment. Long-term return. The return massively outweighs the payment. But you must pay the discomfort to receive the return. No payment. No return. Only debt. You have been refusing payment. Refusing the productive discomfort. This refusal has cost you everything. Fitness refused because workout discomfort refused. Health refused because eating discipline discomfort refused. Productivity refused because early wake discomfort refused. Relationships refused because emotional regulation discomfort refused. Every refusal to pay productive discomfort is refusal of the benefits that discomfort creates. You cannot refuse the payment and receive the benefits. The mathematics does not work. You have a choice. Start paying productive discomfort and start receiving benefits. Or continue refusing payment and continue losing benefits. Consider what accepting productive discomfort looks like practically. Morning arrives. Alarm sounds. Body wants more sleep. Getting up is uncomfortable. You get up anyway. You pay the discomfort. 30 minutes of discomfort. 2 productive hours gained. Fair trade. Workout time arrives. Body wants rest. Training is uncomfortable. You train anyway. You pay the discomfort. 1 hour of discomfort. Fitness gained. Health built. Strength created. Fair trade. Mealtime arrives. Body wants junk food. Eating healthy is uncomfortable. You eat healthy anyway. You pay the discomfort. Momentary discomfort. Long-term health. Fair trade. That is the key. Every productive discomfort payment is fair trade. Temporary discomfort for permanent benefit. But the trade must be made. You must pay the discomfort. You must accept the temporary pain. You must choose the uncomfortable option. This choosing is self-control. This paying is discipline. This accepting is mastery. Without the discomfort payment, there is no self-control. There's only comfortable slavery to impulses. You have a choice. Pay the discomfort and gain self-control, or avoid the discomfort and remain enslaved. Building discomfort tolerance requires progressive exposure. You cannot suddenly handle massive discomfort if you always avoided small discomfort. You build tolerance progressively. Start with small, controllable discomfort. Cold shower for 30 seconds. Delayed meal for 30 minutes. Difficult conversation for 5 minutes. Push-ups until slight fatigue. These exposures are manageable. Uncomfortable, but survivable. You practice surviving small discomfort. The practice builds tolerance. Tolerance allows larger exposures. Cold shower for 3 minutes. Delayed meal for 2 hours. Difficult conversation for 30 minutes. Push-ups until significant fatigue. Each increase builds more tolerance. More tolerance allows more discomfort. More discomfort builds more self-control. You have a choice. Start small and build progressively, or avoid all discomfort and build nothing. The first path is strategic. Begins with manageable discomfort. Progressively increases. Eventually builds massive discomfort tolerance. The second path is comfortable. Avoids all discomfort. Never builds tolerance. Never develops self-control. Most people choose the second. They want self-control without discomfort. This is impossible. Self-control is built through discomfort. No discomfort. No self-control. The connection is absolute. You have a choice. Accept this reality and start building. Or reject this reality and continue failing. After enough practice, discomfort becomes familiar. Not comfortable. Familiar. You know what cold shower feels like. You know what hunger feels like. You know what hard training feels like. You know what emotional regulation feels like. The knowing reduces fear. The familiarity reduces resistance. You know you can survive it. You proved you can survive it. Hundreds of times. This proof makes next exposure easier. Not easy. Easier. That is the key. Discomfort never becomes easy. Discomfort becomes familiar. Familiar is manageable. Manageable is doable. Doable builds self-control. You understand now that discomfort is the price of self-control. You understand that you pay discomfort either way. You understand that productive discomfort is investment and destructive discomfort is debt. Stop avoiding productive discomfort. Start paying it daily. The payment is required. The payment is worth it. The payment builds you. Choose productive discomfort over destructive discomfort. Choose investment over debt. Choose building over destroying. Pay the price. Daily. Through accepted discomfort. Through chosen difficulty. Through embraced challenge. This is non-negotiable. This is the only path. Pay discomfort daily or lose self-control completely. You accept discomfort now. Next, you must understand its purpose. Chapter 8. Temptation is a test. Pass it or fail your life. Life is testing you. Right now. Every day. Through temptation. The unhealthy food when you committed to eating clean. The snooze button when you committed to waking early. The distraction when you committed to focused work. The emotional reaction when you committed to controlled response. These are not random occurrences. These are tests. Systematic tests. Tests of whether you have self-control. You pass or fail. That is the key. Every temptation passed strengthens self-control. Every temptation failed weakens self-control. You're either getting stronger or weaker with each test. There is no neutral. Only pass or fail. Only stronger or weaker. Consider what temptation actually is. Temptation is offered to break your commitment for immediate gratification. You committed to healthy eating. Temptation offers junk food. You committed to early waking. Temptation offers more sleep. You committed to focused work. Temptation offers distraction. You committed to controlled response. Temptation offers emotional reaction. Every temptation is identical structure. Break your commitment. Get immediate gratification. The test is whether you break commitment or maintain commitment. You have a choice. Break commitment and fail the test. Maintain commitment and pass the test. Each choice has consequences. Permanent consequences. You have been failing tests. Repeatedly. Daily. For years. Every temptation faced. Most failed. You broke commitments for immediate gratification. Ate the junk food. Hit the snooze. Clicked the distraction. Reacted emotionally. Each failure weakened your self-control. Each weakening made next failure more likely. After years of failures, your self-control is nearly destroyed. You fail almost every test now. You cannot resist temptation, cannot maintain commitments, cannot delay gratification. The accumulated failures created this weakness. You have a choice. Continue failing tests and continue being weak. Or start passing tests and start building strength. That is the key. Passing temptation tests builds self-control. Failing temptation tests destroys self-control. The pattern is absolute. You cannot fail tests and build strength. You cannot pass tests and remain weak. The tests determine the outcome. Your responses to tests determine who you become. Strong person with self-control, or weak person controlled by temptations. You choose through your responses, not through your intentions, not through your wishes, through your actual responses when actual temptation arrives. Pass and become strong. Fail and become weak. Consider what happens when you pass one temptation test. You committed to healthy eating. Junk food appears. Temptation arrives. You feel the desire. You notice the craving. You pause. You remember your commitment. You choose commitment over temptation. You resist. You pass the test. Something important happens in this moment. You prove to yourself that you can resist. This proof matters enormously. This proof changes your self-concept. You're not someone who always fails temptation. You're someone who can resist. This new identity makes next resistance easier. The next temptation arrives. You remember the previous success. You know you can resist because you already did resist. This knowledge makes resistance easier. Still difficult, but easier than the first time. You resist again. Another proof. Another success. Another strengthening. After 10 successful resistances, resisting becomes significantly easier. The pattern is established. You're someone who resists. After 100 successful resistances, resisting becomes almost automatic. The self-control is built. The strength is real. The tests were passed. The passing created the strength. You have a choice. Resist early temptations despite difficulty and build resistance capacity. Or surrender to early temptations because they are hard and never build capacity. Most people surrender early. The first few resistances are hardest. The urge is strong. The willpower required is enormous. They fail these early tests. Never build capacity. Never become strong. Remain weak forever because they could not endure early difficulty. You have been this person. Failing early tests. Never building strength. That pattern changes today. That is the key. You must pass early tests to build capacity for later tests. The early tests are hardest. Deliberately. The difficulty is the test. Can you resist when resistance is hard? Can you maintain commitment when breaking is easy? Can you delay gratification when immediate satisfaction is available? Most people fail these tests. This is why most people are weak. The few who pass these early hard tests build capacity. The capacity makes later tests easier. The easier tests are passed more frequently. The frequent passing builds more capacity. The cycle continues. Strong becomes stronger. Weak remains weak. Consider the temptation strategy of environmental design. You do not need to resist temptation if temptation is not present. Remove junk food from your environment. No junk food means no junk food temptation. No temptation means no test to fail. Remove social media apps from phone. No apps means no scrolling temptation. No temptation means no test to fail. Remove toxic people from your life. No toxic people means no toxic interaction temptation. No temptation means no test to fail. This is strategic. This is intelligent. This is how masters operate. You have a choice. Rely on willpower alone and fail frequently. or design environment to eliminate unnecessary temptations and conserve willpower for necessary tests. The first approach makes every day full of tests. Multiple temptations, multiple failures, depleted willpower, destroyed self-control. The second approach eliminates avoidable tests, conserves willpower, focuses resistance capacity on unavoidable temptations, passes more tests, builds more strength. Most people choose the first without realizing. They surround themselves with temptations, then wonder why they fail constantly. You've been doing this, surrounding yourself with tests, failing repeatedly. That ends today. Start with environmental audit. Identify every temptation in your environment. Junk food in pantry, social media on phone, television in bedroom, alcohol in house. Whatever tempts you, remove it. Physically remove it. Not tomorrow. Today. This removal eliminates tests you would likely fail. Each eliminated test is avoided failure. Each avoided failure prevents self-control weakening. The removal is strategic self-control preservation. You conserve willpower by eliminating unnecessary temptation exposure. That is the key. Not all temptations are unavoidable. Many temptations you create through poor environmental design. You buy junk food. You install social media apps. You keep alcohol available. You maintain toxic relationships. Each of these creates temptation. Each temptation creates test. Each test risks failure. Each failure weakens you. You have a choice. Continue creating unnecessary temptations and continue failing unnecessary tests. Or eliminate unnecessary temptations and stop failing avoidable tests. The second is strategic. The second conserves willpower. The second prevents failures. Choose the second. But some temptations are unavoidable. These temptations you must resist. These tests you must pass. Build resistance capacity specifically for unavoidable temptations. Social situations with food temptation. Work environments with distraction temptation. Relationships with emotional reaction temptation. These cannot be eliminated. These must be resisted. Practice resisting these specifically. Each practice builds capacity. Each capacity makes resistance easier. Eventually, resistance becomes strong enough to pass these unavoidable tests consistently. You have a choice right now. Continue failing most temptation tests and continue being weak. Or start passing temptation tests and start building strength. The passing begins today. With next temptation, next test, you will feel the desire. Notice the craving. Experience the pull. This is normal. This is the test. What you do next determines the outcome. Surrender and fail. Resist and pass. The choice is yours. The consequence is permanent. Fail and become weaker. Pass and become stronger. Choose pass. Choose resist. Choose strength. Every temptation is test. Every test is opportunity. Opportunity to pass and build strength. Or opportunity to fail and build weakness. You have failed thousands of tests. Built massive weakness. That weakness controls you now. But every new temptation is new opportunity. New chance to pass. New chance to build strength. The past failures do not determine future responses. Unless you let them. You have a choice. Let past failures predict future failures. Or start passing tests today, regardless of past pattern. The second requires breaking pattern. Requires acting differently than history suggests. Requires becoming someone new. Choose becoming someone new. You understand now that temptation is systematic testing. You understand that passing builds strength and failing builds weakness. You understand that environmental design eliminates unnecessary tests and resistance practice handles necessary tests. Stop failing tests. Start passing tests. Every temptation is opportunity. Opportunity to prove you have self-control. Opportunity to build strength. Opportunity to become master instead of slave. Take the opportunity. Pass the test. Resist the temptation. Build the strength. This is non-negotiable. This is the path. Pass tests or fail life. The choice is yours. The test is now. You pass tests now. Next, you must understand when they matter most. Chapter 9. Self-control in crisis reveals years of training. Crisis does not build self-control. Crisis reveals self-control. When pressure arrives, when stakes are high, when emotions run intense, you do not suddenly develop self-control you never had. You reveal the self-control you already built, or you reveal the lack of self-control you never addressed. That is the key. The executive who stays calm during company crisis built that calm through years of smaller pressure. The soldier who maintains discipline during combat built that discipline through endless training. The athlete who performs under championship pressure built that performance through countless practices. Crisis is not when you build. Crisis is when you deploy what you already built. Consider what happens during crisis to someone with no self-control training. Crisis triggers intense emotions. Fear, anger, panic, desperation. These emotions demand immediate reaction. The untrained person obeys the emotional demands immediately. They panic. They rage. They freeze. They make terrible decisions driven by intense feelings. They destroy in moments what took years to build. All because they have no self-control when self-control matters most. They never trained. They never practiced. They never built capacity. Crisis arrived. Crisis revealed they had nothing. You have a choice. Be this person when your crisis arrives. Or build capacity now, so crisis reveals strength instead of weakness. You will face crisis. This is guaranteed. Not maybe. Not possibly. Guaranteed. Life brings crisis to everyone. Business crisis. Health crisis. Relationship crisis. Financial crisis. Personal crisis. The crisis will arrive. The question is not whether crisis comes. The question is what crisis reveals when it comes. Will crisis reveal years of self-control training? Or will crisis reveal complete lack of preparation? You choose through what you do before crisis arrives. You have a choice. Train self-control before crisis. Or have no self-control when crisis tests you. That is the key. You cannot develop self-control during crisis. You can only deploy self-control already developed. The executive facing company crisis cannot suddenly develop calm they never practiced. The calm either exists from years of training or does not exist. The soldier in combat cannot suddenly develop discipline never trained. The discipline either exists from endless practice or does not exist. The athlete under championship pressure cannot suddenly develop performance capacity never built. The capacity either exists from countless repetitions or does not exist. Same with you. Crisis will reveal what you built or reveal what you failed to build. Most people have no crisis-level self-control. They never trained for crisis, never practiced under pressure, never built capacity for intense situations. They handled easy situations adequately. They managed comfortable circumstances fine. But crisis is neither easy nor comfortable. Crisis is hard. Crisis is intense. Crisis demands self-control they never developed. They collapse. They fail. They destroy. Not because they are weak people, because they never built strong capacity. You have been this person. Adequate during easy times. Collapsing during hard times. The pattern is clear. No training. No capacity. Crisis reveals the absence. You have a choice. Continue having no crisis-level self-control and continue collapsing when crisis arrives. Or start building crisis-level self-control now through deliberate training. The training happens before crisis, during peace, when pressure is optional. You create artificial crisis, artificial pressure, artificial intensity. You practice self-control under these artificial conditions. The practice builds capacity. The capacity will be available when real crisis arrives. This is strategic. This is intelligent. This is what prepares you for inevitable crisis. Consider what crisis-level self-control training looks like. You create artificial pressure deliberately. Time constraints, public accountability, physical exhaustion, High stakes. Financial risk. These create pressure similar to crisis pressure. You practice maintaining self-control under this pressure. The practice is hard. The pressure triggers same emotions that crisis triggers. Fear, stress, urgency, discomfort. You feel these emotions. You maintain control anyway. You execute despite emotions. This is training. This is building crisis-level capacity. You have a choice. Create artificial pressure and build capacity, or avoid all pressure and have no capacity when real pressure arrives. That is the key. Artificial pressure training prepares you for real pressure situations. The more realistic the training pressure, the better the crisis performance. Public speaking creates performance pressure. Do it regularly. Build capacity for performing under observation. Time challenges create urgency pressure. Do them frequently. Build capacity for executing under time constraints. Physical exhaustion training creates fatigue pressure. Do it consistently. Build capacity for maintaining control when tired. Each artificial pressure type builds specific capacity. Each capacity transfers to crisis situations requiring that capacity. You have avoided pressure training. Your entire life. You avoided public speaking. Avoided time challenges. Avoided exhaustion training. Avoided anything creating pressure. This avoidance felt smart. Why create unnecessary pressure? Why make life harder? But the avoidance destroyed your crisis preparation. You never built capacity. Now crisis pressure overwhelms you immediately. You have no training to draw from. No practiced responses. No built capacity. You are completely unprepared. You have a choice. Continue avoiding pressure training and continue being unprepared for crisis. Or start pressure training today and start building crisis capacity. Start with smallest pressure training. Public commitment to one goal. Tell someone what you will accomplish. The commitment creates accountability pressure. You must execute or face embarrassment. This pressure is manageable but real. Practice maintaining commitment despite pressure. Timed workout. Set timer. Complete workout before time expires. The deadline creates urgency pressure. You must execute quickly despite fatigue. This pressure is uncomfortable but survivable. Practice executing under time constraint. These small pressure exposures build capacity. Small capacity allows larger exposures. Larger exposures build larger capacity. Progressive training. Progressive capacity building. You have a choice. Start small pressure training and build progressively toward crisis-level capacity. Or avoid all training and remain completely unprepared. The first requires accepting voluntary discomfort. Requires creating pressure you could avoid. Requires practicing when practice is not required. The second requires nothing. No discomfort. No pressure. No practice. Just comfortable unpreparedness. Most people choose the second. You have chosen the second. That choice has left you unprepared. Change the choice. Change the preparation. Change the crisis outcome. That is the key. Crisis outcome is determined before crisis arrives. During training. During practice. During preparation. The person who trained has capacity. The person who avoided training has no capacity. Crisis does not care about intentions. Crisis does not care about potential. Crisis cares only about actual capacity built through actual training. You either have capacity or you do not. The having is determined by training, not by wishing, not by hoping, by training. You have a choice. Train and have capacity, or avoid training and have nothing. Consider what happens when trained person faces crisis. Crisis arrives. Intense emotions trigger. Fear, panic, urgency. But trained person recognizes these emotions, has felt these emotions before, during training, during artificial pressure, during practice. The emotions are familiar. The familiarity reduces overwhelming effect. Trained person remembers practiced responses, remembers what worked during training, executes those responses despite emotions, maintains control. handles crisis. Not because crisis is easy, because training prepared them. The capacity exists. Crisis reveals the capacity. Crisis confirms the training worked. Now consider what happens when untrained person faces same crisis. Same intense emotions trigger. Same fear. Same panic. Same urgency. But untrained person never felt these emotions at this intensity. No training. No practice. No familiarity. The emotions overwhelm completely. Untrained person has no practiced responses, has no memory of what works, has no built capacity to draw from, collapses, panics, makes terrible decisions, destroys everything. Not because they are a bad person, because they never trained. The capacity does not exist. Crisis reveals the absence. Crisis confirms the lack of training. You understand now that crisis reveals training. You understand that you cannot build capacity during crisis. You understand that capacity must be built before crisis through artificial pressure training. Stop avoiding pressure. Start creating pressure. Stop skipping training. Start practicing under artificial crisis conditions. The real crisis is coming. The arrival is guaranteed. What crisis reveals is up to you. Build capacity now, through pressure training, through artificial intensity, through deliberate practice under uncomfortable conditions. This is non-negotiable. This is required. Train for crisis in peace, or collapse during crisis in war. The choice is yours. The crisis is coming. You train for crisis now. Finally, you must understand the ultimate truth. Chapter 10. Mastery is forever. Self-control is daily practice. There is no finish line, no moment where you achieve complete self-control forever. No permanent arrival at mastery. Self-control is not destination. Self-control is practice, daily practice, continuous practice, permanent practice. That is the key. The moment you stop practicing, you start losing capacity. The person with extraordinary self-control who stops practicing becomes person with ordinary self-control. Then person with weak self-control. Then person with no self-control. Mastery requires maintenance. Maintenance requires daily practice. Forever. There is no retirement from self-control. Only practice or decay. Consider what happens when someone stops practicing. They built strong self-control. Through years of discipline. Through consistent habits, through daily resistance training. They have impressive capacity. They can delay gratification for months, can resist intense temptations, can maintain control under pressure. This capacity feels permanent, feels like achieved state, feels like finished accomplishment. This feeling is dangerous. This feeling is illusion. The capacity is not permanent. The capacity is maintained through practice. Stop practicing. Start losing capacity. You have a choice. Understand this truth and commit to permanent practice. Or believe the illusion and watch your capacity decay. You're thinking you will practice until you achieve mastery, then stop. This is the fatal mistake. This is why people who build self-control eventually lose it. They treat self-control like destination. Work toward it. Reach it. Stop working. Immediately begin losing it. Slowly at first. Almost unnoticeably. Skip one morning workout. No big deal. Skip controlled eating one day. Just this once. Allow one emotional reaction. Understandable given circumstances. Each skip seems insignificant. Each allowance seems reasonable. But each is practice. Practice at not having self-control. Practice at being undisciplined. Practice at surrendering control. The practice compounds. Like always, after enough practice at not having self-control, you no longer have self-control. That is the key. You're always practicing something. Always training some capacity. Either practicing self-control or practicing lack of self-control. There is no neutral. No maintenance without practice. No preservation without effort. You practice having control or you practice losing control. The direction is determined by daily actions, daily choices, daily behaviors. You choose through what you do today, not through what you did yesterday, not through what you intend tomorrow, through what you actually do today. Today you practice self-control or practice losing self-control. You have a choice. Which practice do you choose? The daily non-negotiables maintain mastery. 3 practices. Every day. Forever. These 3 practices maintain self-control capacity you built. Skip these practices. Begin losing capacity. Execute these practices. Maintain capacity. The practices are simple. Not easy. Simple. First practice. Physical discipline. Command your body to do something your body does not want to do. This maintains mind-over-body hierarchy. Cold shower. Early wake. Hard training. Something physically uncomfortable. Something body protests. You command anyway. Body obeys. Hierarchy maintained. Skip this practice. Hierarchy weakens. Body starts commanding. Mind starts obeying. Slavery returns. Second practice. Impulse resistance. Identify one impulse today and refuse to obey it. Phone checking impulse. Snack craving impulse. Comfort seeking impulse. Entertainment impulse. Whatever impulse arrives, refuse one deliberately. Notice the impulse. Acknowledge the desire. Choose resistance. Execute resistance. This maintains impulse mastery. This proves you still command your impulses instead of obeying them. Skip this practice. Impulses start commanding. You start obeying. Control disappears. You have a choice. Resist one impulse daily and maintain mastery, or obey all impulses and lose mastery. Third practice. Gap practice. Create pause between stimulus and response in small moments. Someone says something annoying. Notice it. Notice your reaction impulse. Pause. Choose response. Small moment. Small gap. But the gap is practice. The practice maintains gap capacity. The capacity is available when large moments arrive. Skip this practice. Gap collapses. Stimulus triggers automatic reaction. Control disappears. Reactivity returns. You have a choice. Practice gap daily in small moments and maintain capacity. Or skip gap practice and lose capacity. That is the key. 3 daily practices. Non-negotiable. Forever. Physical discipline. Impulse resistance. Gap practice. These 3 maintain everything you built. You are thinking 3 daily practices sounds like too much. Too much effort. Too much time. Too much discipline. This reveals you still do not understand. These practices are not burden. These practices are maintenance. Maintenance of capacity you desperately want. Capacity for self-control. Capacity for discipline. Capacity for mastery. Without maintenance, capacity decays. Guaranteed. Inevitable. Permanent. You have a choice. Invest 15 minutes daily in maintenance practices and keep your capacity. Or skip maintenance and watch your capacity disappear. The 15 minutes is nothing compared to what you lose without them. Consider what happens with consistent daily practice. You execute 3 practices daily. Every day. For 1 year. 365 days of physical discipline. 365 days of impulse resistance. 365 days of gap practice. The practices become automatic, not the specific practice. The practicing. You automatically practice self-control daily. The practicing is who you are, not what you do occasionally, who you are constantly. This is mastery, not achievement. Identity. You are a self-controlled person. The being is expressed through daily practice. The practice maintains the being. The cycle continues. Forever. That is the key. Self-control as identity rather than achievement. You are not someone who achieved self-control. You are someone who practices self-control. The distinction is everything. Achievement implies completion. Done. Finished. Over. Practice implies continuation. Ongoing. Permanent. Never-ending. You do not complete self-control. You practice self-control. Every day. Until death. This practice is who you are, not what you did. Self-controlled person practices self-control. Like breathing, person breathes. The practice is natural expression of identity, not effortful obligation. You have a choice. Build self-control as achievement and lose it when practice stops. Or build self-control as identity and maintain it through permanent practice. After years of daily practice, something remarkable happens. The practice becomes effortless, not because it requires no effort, because the effort is natural expression of who you are. You wake early, not because you force yourself, because you're early waker. You train hard, not because you make yourself, because you're a disciplined trainer. You resist impulses, not because you fight yourself, because you're a self-controlled person. The actions flow from identity. The identity is maintained through actions. The cycle is self-reinforcing. The effort feels effortless, not because nothing is required, because what is required is natural expression of who you became through years of practice. You understand now that mastery is not achievement. You understand that self-control is daily practice. You understand that 3 daily non-negotiables maintain capacity. You understand that practice must continue forever or capacity decays. Stop treating self-control as destination. Start treating self-control as practice. Daily practice. Permanent practice. Practice that defines who you are, not what you occasionally do. Execute the 3 practices every day. Physical discipline, impulse resistance, gap practice. These maintain everything. These maintain you. Skip them and lose yourself. Execute them and remain master. You have a choice. Practice daily or decay permanently. Choose practice. Choose mastery. Choose forever. You practice forever now. You have learned everything. You are slave to impulses until you choose mastery. Self-control is strategic command, not suppression. The gap between stimulus and response contains your freedom. Delayed gratification separates masters from slaves. Your body serves your mind or enslaves it. Habits compound you toward excellence or failure. Discomfort is the price you pay daily. Temptation tests you constantly. Crisis reveals your training. Mastery requires daily practice forever. These 10 truths transform those who apply them. These 10 truths are yours. Now execute. Now practice. Now become master. The ancient art of discipline awaits your commitment. The commitment begins today. The practice continues forever. You're no longer slave. You're a master. Prove it through practice. Starting now. You have learned 10 truths about self-control. You're a slave to your impulses until you choose mastery. Self-control is strategic command, not suppression. The gap between stimulus and response contains your freedom. Delayed gratification separates masters from slaves. Your body serves your mind or enslaves it. Habits compound you toward excellence or failure. Discomfort is the price you pay daily. Temptation tests you constantly. Crisis reveals your training. Mastery requires daily practice forever. But here's what matters now. What you do today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today, right now, you have a choice. Return to impulse slavery and continue being controlled by every desire, every craving, every reaction. Or begin practicing self-control today and start the journey toward mastery. The journey is not short. The journey is lifetime, but the journey begins with single practice, single resistance to single impulse, single pause before single reaction, single choice of discipline over comfort. Make that choice today, then make it again tomorrow, then make it every day after. The practices you learned are not complicated. They're simple. Build the gap, delay gratification, command your body, build good habits, accept discomfort, resist temptation, train before crisis, practice daily forever. Simple practices, profound results. You understand the ancient art now. Stop being controlled. Start mastering yourself. The practice begins today. Your transformation begins with control.